Welcome to Seth's Daily Podcast here on Nighthawk Radio. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. I want to thank you guys for subscribing. I want to thank everybody that's listening to Nighthawk Radio. We're blessed enough to have guests all the way from West Virginia, Ghost Hunter Dave Spinks. How you doing today, man?
Good, man. What's going on?
I'm
Thanks
doing
for
good,
having me.
brother.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this, man. Just trying to figure out YouTube Live. uh, but yeah, man, I know
That's
you got.
that's one of my themes on my music, Ghost in the Machine, man. It's always the ghost in the machine doing stuff.
Yeah, I know you just had a book that just came out here recently, man.
Yeah, it's called Beyond Mothman. You can see it right here. But this book is about 25 years of investigating in and around the Point Pleasant area. Of course, everybody knows Point Pleasant for Mothman, but this book covers all different stuff around Point Pleasant. There's a lot more to it than just Mothman. There's haunting, there's other cryptid sightings, all kind of stuff. Native American giants and different ancient mount burial mounds and stuff like that. So that's I wrote that book to showcase 20 plus years of investigating around that area. It's kind of like our Skinwalker Ranch, area in West Virginia, Point Pleasant, and the general surrounding area across the river. You got two major rivers that intersect there, and there's a lot of energy and power along those two rivers meeting right there, and just a ton of paranormal stuff that goes on up there, from UFOs to cryptid sightings to ghosts and a whole bunch of stuff. So that book has all of it in it. I mean, it's a lot of stuff I've done up there.
Yeah, man, where can people get that book at, brother? Amazon?
Yeah, so they can get it on Amazon, or you can go if you want a signed copy. Go to my website and you can order it, and I'll mail it right to your house. It'll be signed to you however you want it. So all you do is go to my website, www.davespinkspi.com, and you go on the website, go into the World of Weird store, which is Dave Spinks World of Weird, and you can see all my books on there if you want a signed copy. And you can even order some of my new music and new paranormal poem books that are coming out. I've got three of the CDs out now that are ready, and it's all professionally done. And all the music is supernatural, paranormal, and metaphysical related. So I mean, I'll show you. You can see here's one. Here's the first CD. It's called Origins, and you've got some really cool music on this one. And a lot of it's rock and metal, and there's even a few country style songs on there as well, all written by me, based off the poems I wrote. Um, the poems, I can't hear you. Lost sound. Your mic's off.
Oh, I'm talking to my live, bro.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, we got 13 people.
you got all that in there. I mean, just on the first CD alone, there's 21 songs. So CDs are $20, and I'll even sign those if you order them from my website and you want them home. Second one is called Haunted. It's a really cool one too, if you can see it. You get a reflection off of your face every time I do that. But some really cool artwork. The music's all professionally done, professionally mastered by a friend of mine, Gerald Vance. You can see right there's the CD. And you can see that portal in there. It's really cool. There's nothing else like these out there. And then you got creepy cryptids, which is really cool artwork as well, done by Gerald. All music, like I said, is professionally mastered and made. See the inside. Got another portal there on the CD itself, by Dave Spinks World of Weird Records. So there's three out now. There'll be probably four or five more coming out in the near future. They're already done. They're just being made now. So these go along. What I did was I took the poems I wrote in my poetry series, and it's David. You can go on my website too and see those covers of those books. It's paranormal poems and ominous odes by Dave Spinks. And I took those poems and turned them into music lyrics, and we did the music. So it's something really cool and different, totally different. There's nothing else like there out there like it. So, and if you like rock and metal and even some country rock style music, I mean, you'll love these. I mean, everybody that's got one so far has just went and praised them. Just love it. They love it.
Definitely, man. And so I was watching Expedition X on Max the other day, man, and I was watching the Mothman episode, and I randomly
Yeah,
just seen you on there, man. Let's talk about that episode.
yeah, that was you know, goes right along with the Mothman book. It's some of the stuff I've done up there, and they wanted me on that show because they know I've done so much, of my own investigating up there over the years. But it was a just an Expedition X basically type of episode, and I uncovered a map in the courthouse that really people don't really know much about. It was like everybody knows about the TNT bunkers up there, but this map was a secret, another secret within the secret TNT bunkers at the time. And so it's hard to tell what the government was doing with a secret. It was Department of U.S. Army in a certain section inside the TNT bunkers, and it's all flooded now. So you saw in the episode they took a boat out to it and stuff. But yeah, so who knows what the military, was experimenting on in those days for weapons and different things. A lot of people think that the Mothman was some kind of secret government project, that went wrong. And I talk about it in my book too as well. That's when they were testing. They had already been testing the wingsuits for parachuters back in those days too. So could it have been some kind of testing going on with these guys, these soldiers in these wingsuits? Could have been, may not have been. Who knows? You got to always, as an investigator, you got to kind of touch all angles of it and see, well, could it have possibly been this? Could it have been that? And then of course, there's other people that think the Mothman is a winged demon type creature. That whenever it shows up, a natural disaster happens or some kind of bad disaster, which we know the Silver Bridge fell and killed 46 people. So, and then others say, well, he comes as a warning. When you see him, he's warning everybody something bad is going to happen here. So, it's just one of those things that we look into as an investigator. Lots of people had crazy experiences for over a year, and there's still an occasional sighting of a Mothman type creature up in that area, and he's seen all around the world. So, what are we dealing with here? Some kind of weird demonic entity, some kind of cryptid, some maybe an alien, could be an alien. Who knows? Lots and lots of UFO sightings during that whole year up in Point Pleasant and in Ohio, the surrounding communities.
Yeah,
But
wasn't there a Darrenberger scene? Something like
mhm, well, yeah, that was in Parkersburg, right outside Parkersburg, just a few miles up the road. It's about 40 miles, 40, 50 miles away from Point Pleasant. So, West Virginia, we're known for, I mean, we have so many different sightings. In my real West Virginia UFO book, I talk about Darrenberger's sighting, and I knew his daughter and everything, and interviewed her for the book. She's in my book, and she recounted what she remembered of Woody's whole encounters with Indrid Cold, and she remembers seeing this Indrid Cold character at her house when she was a little kid. And so, it's all in my book. It's a good read. It's got a ton of talks about all the sightings of UFOs in around Point Pleasant during that time as well. So not only were people seeing a Mothman creature, they were seeing UFOs and all over the sky almost every night. Like it was there were so many UFOs that people would literally come home from work, eat dinner, and they'd load up the kids and the family in the family truckster and go out to the highway by the TNT bunkers and watch the weird lights in the sky. And there's, several people like Linda Sigmund talks about it in her book too. She's also in this book. So we have a lot of original eyewitnesses that I've interviewed over the years and different things in these books.
definitely, man. So we got a question from YouTube. They said, is there only one Mothman?
Who knows? I'm not going to sit there and say I know that for sure. If I did, I'd be lying to you. I mean, could there be more? Sure. Why not? Because we don't even know what this thing is. It could be one singular type of demonic entity. It could be an alien species. We don't know, right? So to sit there and say that I know for a fact there's only one Mothman type creature, that would be an absolute lie. And anyone that says that would be lying to you as well, because nobody knows what this thing is. All we know is it's seen all over the world, and every time it's seen, there's some kind of crazy disaster in most cases.
Yeah. With the bridge collapsing in Point
Mm,
Pleasant.
yeah. And then other people had other crazy experiences too. Like people that encountered this thing, their eyes would be burning. They had like injuries, burning injuries to their skin and stuff. So we don't know, we don't know what it was, um, but in a lot of cases around the world, there have been big disasters that occurred. I will be speaking at the Mothman Festival this year. You can come to my tent, well, where I'll have all my books and stuff. So if you're going to the Mothman Festival, please come visit my table. I'm usually over by the statue somewhere. I'll have a big tent, and have all my books and everything else there that I sell. So come and see me.
Definitely, man. The Mothman Festival is awesome, by the way.
Yeah, it's huge, man. It's a big thing, and Jeff Walmsley up there has done a phenomenal job ever since when I first got out of the military. I knew that I was like, man, I got to get up to Point Pleasant and start investigating. I got out in 2001, and my dad had taken me up there as a kid and told me the whole story, and then I was gone overseas and stuff. So as soon as I got back in 2001, that's when I started hitting the area really hard. And I actually remember when Jeff and the folks set up the first Mothman Festival, and then I seen John Keel there. The only time I ever saw John Keel, and I saw him in his white suit, he was there, and it was pretty cool. And one cool thing in this book, there's only two. I have a copy of John Keel's actual notes from back when he wrote the notes for this case. And the only other copy is owned by Jeff in the Mothman Museum. So they are actually in this book, so people will get to see them firsthand. And they were given to me by a family friend that was friends with him, and the lady's husband's mom had these, and for years and years in their house. And then when her and her husband got divorced, he had one, and
Mm.
he didn't want them. So she asked me one day at the festival, "Would you like to have those?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely." And I've got them right there in my manila folder. So it's pretty cool, having a piece of history like that from John Keel, who wrote the Mothman prophecies, and of course they made the movie about it with Richard Gere.
Yeah, that's awesome, man, for sure. And I know you got some documentaries coming out here soon.
Yeah, so I've been working with this wonderful investigator and movie maker, man. This guy, and I mean, the guy's a real deal researcher, investigator, and he happens to be just a phenomenal movie maker. He made the series Strange World on History Channel. If you ever seen that, it's a great series. And he also made the Dark Files and the Montauk movie. And his name's Christopher Garantano. And I am now a part of his company, and we're going to be bringing some really good quality, real stuff to the screen, man, the big screen, and it'll be on every streaming platform you can imagine, because that's where it's at now. Hollywood is pretty much dead. They've overdone the paranormal shows to a point where they're just garbage now. They're pure garbage. Every week when you're doing this stuff, guys, you got to remember you see some of these shows and every week it's a demon. It's just not like that. That's total entertainment. It's not really like that in real life. I mean, there'll be countless times you go and you don't get any kind of evidence. You got to remember TV's for entertainment. Everything I do is real. What you see is what you get, and I've never sold out to Hollywood. I've been on a lot of shows, but if you notice, it's always me recounting one of my stories or my experiences and being the local expert, as they call it, or whatever the case is. So I've had TV contracts in my hand that I turned down a couple of times because I refuse to fake anything. I don't need to fake anything. I don't do this for that. I do this to, show people, hey, there's things out there we just don't understand. There's spirits all around us. I truly believe that. After 30, I've got about 37 years into this stuff now. I own two of my own haunted locations, the Willow's Weep House, which I tore down last year because the place was so negative and evil. I just didn't want to risk anybody else getting hurt in there. I tore it down, and now I have a new place that I'm doing a whole long-term study at. It's called the Shantytown Spirit Shack. So any of you investigators want to come, you can email me, and I'll give you all the details, and you can book it for your team and come and investigate it. And it's a little place, but man, it is super active. We just started letting teams in it too. So, and I'm trying to show people too, you don't need this grand mansion or plantation or jail or asylum to have a haunting. A haunting can occur anywhere in a little tiny shack, and that's what this is. A small 3 bedroom house. It's literally one giant trigger object, man. The guy that died in it, the last guy that died, he was a friend of mine. He's an old Korean War veteran, and he shot himself in it, and he's still in there, man. 100%. About a month after I died in it, I can open my front door and look right across to his house, and I saw a full body shadow figure walking around, so much so that I thought somebody had broken in, and he had only been dead a month. And I ran over there checking because I knew there was not supposed to be nobody in that house, and there was nobody in it. And I saw him twice like that, and then of course I ended up buying it, and all of his stuff's still in it, so it's literally a giant trigger object. His family came and got what they wanted out of the house, and they left everything else. It's crazy. The
So is
cherry
it
kit Cherry shot himself in is still in there. I mean, his blood's still on it, the whole 9 yards. So you couldn't get a better scenario, and that's kind of what I had at the Willows Weep House. But the Willows Weep House, people had conjured things in that place, and it's just a really highly negative house. And there'll be more about the Willows Weep House coming out in the future on these movies and that we're doing and stuff. But these movies I'm doing with Christopher I think it's really going to be eye opening to people because they're just so in depth, and they talk about death and mortality and all the different aspects. Could this be a demonic haunting? Could this be what causes a haunting? You name it, it's in there. So it's the real deal when it comes to the paranormal with this guy, and that's what I want. That's what I've waited for. I didn't sell out. And I met a guy that wants to do the same thing I do, and now I'm pumped about it. And it's high quality stuff. It's not, you know, Joe Blow using a ghost box every week, or whatever. Not to say, and I use different equipment. I use ghost boxes. I use recorders, the whole 9 yards. But it's not what it's all about all the time. You know, it's about people's experiences and we talk about what started us to have a fascination with this stuff. And we're going to be delving into all kinds of just really cool topics that deal with the death and paranormal, supernatural, metaphysical, the whole 9 yards. So it's going to be a really cool, and it's a series too. So there'll be multiple movies coming out of this over the next year. We're already starting to film like number 2 and 3 in November, and he's already got part of the second one done. So, I mean, this haunting we will go. He's been working on this one for 3 years. I mean, that's how much work he's putting into it. It's going to be
dedicated?
yeah, it's going to be. I mean, it's phenomenal stuff, and there's some really good people in the movie too as well. So I've been boots on the ground doing this stuff for real, for many years.
Well, I got another question in the YouTube live, man. Somebody wrote,
Sure.
"Does David still get scared?"
Oh yeah, I mean, there's been a few times over my time where only one time that I actually left a place, and that was at this little house in Indiana called Revenant Acres. Man, and the reason we left because it got so heavy and so negative feeling that we knew that if we can get out of there, one of us was going to get messed up somehow. And you're talking about guys that've been doing this a long time, but something that house set right in front of a 4-lane state highway, and we were it's a little tiny place, and a lot of debauchery went on there. There was drug use, and we pretty much were for certain that like women had been held captive there and tortured in many different ways. If you get my drift, just a lot of like the bedroom was painted all black up there. It was really weird, man. And I saw another team had been there, and a kid got. I mean, he literally looked like he got possessed there. So I had to go check it out, because somebody recommended it. And it was ran by 2 law enforcement guys. So I know they weren't BSing. It wasn't made up stuff. And So we went there and we were upstairs and we were live at the time too. And something hit the house so hard that the whole house shook out. We thought like an 18 wheeler came off the four lane and hit the house. That's how hard the house shook. And it was like a portal had opened in. I mean, something bad came in. And then we heard something walking around downstairs and it had those old time heating vents where you could look down and see through them. And we could hear something heavy, like real heavy boots walking around in that place. And then it started coming up the stairs, and I thought it was so pronounced and loud that I drew my gun. I carry a gun. I'm ex law enforcement, and I thought somebody had come in the house, and I was sitting there at the top of the stairs waiting for them with my gun and ready to shoot because I thought somebody broke in and nothing ever came. I was like, man, I said, what do you guys think? What, how are you feeling? They're like, yeah, we better get out of here, man. This is really negative and something really bad, and some other stuff transpired. So that was one time when I was like a little bit wigged out, and some of the stuff that happened prior to that was pretty intense too. Um, One guy was over, they had a piano in there, and one of the guys was over there, and he was sitting on the piano bench, and the piano bench lifted up and flipped with him on it, and some real crazy stuff happened. So yeah, there's been a few times, in my career of doing this that I've been a little bit wigged out. Most times I pushed through it though. But that was one time we left that location early, and I'd been there a couple of times. That time was way more intense than any other time I had been there. So, there are times when your inner fight or flight says, "Yeah, it's time to probably get out." And for me, it's been only that one time really, and a couple other times I went out and came back in, kind of reset and regrounded myself. But yeah, I mean, if your body, listen as an investigator, listen to what your body's telling you. If you feel that sensation where you feel that it's time to get out, then get out, because it's better safe than sorry, you know. So, because stuff does happen, people do get attachments. I had an attachment one time from a case, and I'm kind of known for being in some of these locations for extended amounts of time. Like there's a case I did that I called Wicked 46 about this house in Pennsylvania up in Wilkes-Barre, PA, and I wrote basically a day by day journal of what I experienced in this place, and it's tied to a very famous case, the Smurl haunting, um, that's coming out. The last Conjuring movie is about, and the Warrens were actually there back in the '80s. So it's a lot to it. Read my book if you want to. People say that's one of the scariest books they ever wrote, they ever read. Same with my Will's Wheat book too. So there's stuff out there that's just very negative in nature, and I'm a firm believer in negative energy does stain places and it stays there. You know, and the longer you do this, for me, in my opinion, the longer you do this, the more you become in tune to this stuff, and you can kind of walk into a place and feel if the energy's happy, sad, bad, mad, whatever. And, I always tell folks your best tool is your body. Listen to it. If the hair on your arm stands up in the back of your neck, you might want to pay attention because something's happening. That's when you want to go right into an EVP session, use a piece of equipment, whatever, and try to document something right then and there. I don't hear you, bro. There you go.
Oh, I was talking to the YouTube. My bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody had a question if has anything negative ever followed you home, but you kind of
Yeah.
answered that last.
Yeah. From the Wicked 46 case. I had come home. I spent 60 days in that house. So the first 30 days were the entire time. 30 days, 24/7, other than to go out and get like food and stuff and then go right back in. Then I took a week off and I went back three more times for 2 weeks at a time and took some days off in between. And when I got home from that case, the first thing that happened was I walked in my house, nobody there, and I heard a pop sound. It sounded like a light bulb popping. So I checked. I was like, "Oh, a light bulb just popped." So I walked around, checked every light bulb in the house. They all worked. And then as I was doing that, I started smelling this horrible rotting flesh smell and sulfur smell in my house. And I kind of blew it off and threw some holy water around and stuff like that. thinking, okay, maybe something followed me. And then I kind of blew it off. But then my life just turned upside down. Like I almost went financially bankrupt. I went through a crazy divorce. I was having these dreams every night where I was surrounded by this black cloud and these black arms were coming out and trying to grab me. And every night they got a little bit closer and a little bit closer till finally one night, one grabbed a hold of my shoulder right here. And I went like that. And I woke up and I was dreaming, but then I had a little tear and a scratch on my arm, and all this bad stuff was happening. And then I finally realized, I was like, man, I must have an attachment. There's no reason for all this stuff to be going this crazy. So I went and got blessed by a Catholic priest, which I'm not even Catholic, but I have contacts in the church, and they blessed me. And then I went to a Baptist minister and had another blessing, and then I went to a shaman and had them bless me. And then within a few weeks, everything started turning around. So that stuff can happen. You can get an attachment anywhere though. You could just be walking in the grocery store and get an attachment. Stuff like that happens sometimes. It just does. No, we don't know why, but it does. A lot of times I think that people that have maybe childhood traumas or they have an addiction problem, it creates what we call cracks, in a person or a hole in your soul, and that is a doorway for negative entities to just kind of jump in and take advantage of that situation. Maybe you recently lost a loved one and your grief's real heavy, and they jump in there and take advantage of that situation sometimes. It's just like when you go to a bar, they call it wine and spirits, right? Spirits, they call it spirits for a reason. What better a place when you get hammered? You're sitting there drinking, and it could be with drugs or alcohol, it doesn't matter. But you have an addiction problem where you're just maybe one night out with the boys and get hammered, then your built-in defense system's lower, right? And that creates an avenue for these things to jump in and take your body for a ride. I mean, how many people do we know? All of us know somebody that was hammered one time and did something crazy that they would never do normally, in their life. You can blame it on the alcohol, but there's a lot of times there's something else going on with that too. So, just be mindful when you drink or you use substances, whatever substances, it lowers your built-in defense systems for entities and stuff. That's what that whole situation is with the hair on the back of your neck and your arms. If that shit stands up, I mean, how many times have you been sitting at home watching TV and you see a shadow in the corner of your eye? A lot of times that's a spirit, because they usually never come to you head on. It's always from the side or from behind. So, because they do like sneak attacks. And very rarely will you see one face to face, head on, coming right at you. I mean, it's always out of the corner of your eye. And most people, you just blow it off. I saw, what was that? But a lot of times it's spirits that are all around us, man. They're not all bad. Don't get me wrong. They're not all bad. Could be one of your loved ones just popping in to visit you. Could be whatever. So, but in my personal humble opinion, there's spirits all around us all the time. And sometimes it seems like people that understand that, they know you are open to that, and they will come to you more often, if that makes sense. Because some of them have a message, they have unfinished business, they want someone to hear their plight or their what happened to them. And like for me, in a lot of cases, there's a couple of mediums out there that say I'm a physical medium, and I never really subscribed to that, but I've been scratched and had some crazy stuff physically happen to me because those spirits, they're not necessarily evil or anything, but they want you to experience what happened to them when they died. So they will sometimes portray that onto you, like scratch you, or they're trying to get your attention. They don't understand that they're dead, and how come they can see you and you can't see and hear them, right? So they'll lash out and scratch you and say, "Hey, I'm here, man. Why aren't you paying attention to me? Or what are you doing in my house? This is my house." Stuff like that. You have to treat it as if they're a living, breathing presence in there with you, because sometimes these human spirits don't know that they're dead. They died so fast and tragically. They still think they're alive, and they don't know why these weird people are in their house. A lot of times you'll find these stories of families that just moved into this house, and they start experiencing all kinds of paranormal activity out of nowhere. And sometimes another family will move in right after and or right before them, and nothing happens. So we don't know why that happens. So You got to kind of think outside the box. Why is this happening to this family when we had a family live here before them and after them never experienced anything? So, there's a lot of questions when you do this stuff. It's like an onion with many different layers. You got to peel back the layers.
Definitely, man. And you've been on Unexplained as well. That's on the History Channel.
Yeah, I was on, I think, 4 episodes of that show. Did the very first episode called Evil Places. That was about my Willow's Weep house that I tore down that we talked about briefly for a minute. And I did a couple other episodes about various topics and been on a bunch of different shows, man. Travel Channel, In Search of Monsters. I did a Mothman episode on that one, but that was an investigative episode where I went with a couple who had something follow them home from there, and we went back in there with the camera team and tried to see what was causing that, and it was definitely something negative. And I talk about that in the book too, on that case. So they didn't show. I mean, the stuff we experienced, they didn't show half of it, and that's one bad thing about TV. They cut out a lot of the good stuff. So, but yeah, I still talk to them. They it took a few years for them to get rid of that thing, so it was pretty intense case for them. And I see them at Mothman Festival because I'm there every year, and they call you to come by and say hi to me and stuff. But been on Paranormal 911, Terror in the Woods. That was what, Terror in the Woods is my Bigfoot story. That's what started me in all this. That's what I saw as a young man that changed my life. It's why I do what I do. But what else? I mean, I've been on and the Flatwoods Monster Legacy of Fear, one of Seth Breedlove's small town monster movies. I was in that. Because I grew up right down the road from where that whole deal happened in 1952. Um, been in a lot of different movies, different documentary movies about the paranormal, and more coming, man. Lots more coming. So,
Everybody needs to be on the lookout for it.
oh yeah, like I said, and also I put on the Flatwoods Monster Festival now every year. This is the third year of it. It's growing bigger every time. This year we're having Frank Ficino, the world's foremost expert on that case. Um, he spent his entire life, which he'd be a great guest for you to have on sometime. He spent his entire life on one case, man. Wrote several books about it, and we're having him up there this
Who's
year.
that? Who'd you
His
say?
name is Frank Ficino.
Oh yeah.
He's got a brand new book coming out about that, and I mean, he spent 30 years of his life on one case. If that tells you anything, so it's a really good book. It's probably one of the most detailed case books you'll ever read. I mean, it's because he was friends with all the original eyewitnesses and everything. So, um, I got like, let me see. Hold on, I'll show you. This is so here's a couple of his books right here, and this one, and it's all about the 1952 shoot them down when our pilots were ordered to chase these UFOs and shoot them down if they could. And he's got a brand new book, and he'll be speaking at the conference this year. So he worked with Stanton Friedman on this case. Which, if any of y'all know who Stanton Friedman is, he's a nuclear physicist, one of the most well respected ufologists in the country. And he wrote the Roswell books and different stuff like that. So, um, Frank's an excellent speaker, and he was. If you watch the Monster Quest episode about the Flatwoods Monster, that's him. And there's big. He's a real big, tall guy, and you'll see him on there. But he'll be up here in Flatwoods with us this year speaking. So we're excited to have him up for the conference this year. Um, and we'll be doing a movie on that too later on about that case.
Yeah. I definitely appreciate you being on, brother. Where can people find your book and
Okay, all my books are available on Amazon. If you just type in Dave Spinks author or Dave Spinks books, they'll pop up. There should be 9 of them, but I'm fixing to drop 3 more. And a new my second volume of Real West Virginia Hauntings will be dropping after these. So got a lot of books coming out this year. But you can go there on Amazon. You can also go to davespinkspi.com, my website, and you can see where I'm speaking at. It has all my information, where I'm going to be at this year speaking, all my books, the music, everything. So just go to the website. And if you want a personalized signed copy of anything, just you can go on there and buy it and fill out your information on in the store form, your email and all that, and tell me how you want it signed, and I'll mail one right to your house for you. And
Yes,
that's
sir.
with music. That's with the music CDs, the books, anything you see on my website in the store there.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you taking the time of your day to be on, man.
Hey, thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
having me. I appreciate it.
No
Any more
problem, brother.
questions? Got any more questions before we roll?
Uh, on YouTube, yeah, it says, "Have you met the Warrens?"
I met Lorraine years and years ago, but I'm great friends with their nephew Johnny Zaffis. I've investigated with him. I known him for years. The haunted collector, as he's known as. But yeah, I mean, I met Lorraine years ago, but didn't do much with them. You know, they were older then, and of course they're no longer with us. But yeah, you know, they're pioneers in the paranormal. The Warrens were, and they were early go getters and did their thing, and a lot of us, you know, emulated them. As same with Hans Holzer, you know, the great American ghost hunter as he was called, you know, and but ghost hunting, you know, ghost hunting and paranormal investigation has been going on for thousands of years, literally. And you'll see some of that in the new movie coming out, Haunting Will Go. It's fascinating stuff. So I think it's going to open a lot of people's eyes because it's way beyond the stuff these crappy shows, that these investigative shows you see on TV, man. Because unfortunately Hollywood's got it all wrong, man. They want it to be all dramatic and all that. I mean, it can be dramatic, don't get me wrong, but they have this cookie cutter. It's a cookie cutter formula because it worked for one show. Everybody copies that formula, and they think it's got to be like that or it's bullshit, and it's just not, you know. And then they make it all dramatic, and a few of the shows been caught cheating and faking stuff, you know. So that just takes away from the whole thing for us, and it takes away the mysteries of some of man's greatest questions, you know. And that's kind of like my mantra: is are we alone in the universe? What happens when we die, and are there unknown monsters walking among us? And that's my little mantra. You know, that's why I do what I do. It's some of man's greatest, really unanswered questions. For me, some of that I have answered for myself. But can I tell you what causes this and why and how? No, nobody can. And people that say they can are full of malarkey. You know, literally, it's some of the most fascinating stuff out there. You know, but we know, like, if you go into the cryptid field, and you know, there are unknown monsters around us. They find new species on the planet all the time. They thought a prime example that, you know, we've heard all these old ship stories of the Kraken, right? You know, these giant squids or octopuses that would attack these boats and kill the sailors. Well, guess what? I think it's 2015 or 2017 or 2015 or 16, a group of Japanese fishermen caught a 65-foot long giant squid. That's massive. Now, them old ships were small. They're not big like the ships today. And something that big could definitely have crawled up on a ship and got some people. You know, and I mean, Christopher Columbus documented a UFO in one of his captain's logs, you know. So, you know, this stuff dates back, and there's some truth to these stories. I guarantee you they saw giant sharks and creatures in the ocean. The ocean's like 80 something percent unexplored. So there's stuff out there, man. There literally is. And I know what I saw, whatever that Bigfoot esque creature I saw was something that was real, and it was interacting with the environment, and it scared the living hell out of me, and it changed my life. And I'm still looking for answers, you know, because of that. So for me, a lot of this stuff wraps all in together and overlaps. So that's why I do everything. I'm not just a ghost guy. I'm not just a cryptid guy. I do all of it because a lot of it, it does overlap in some way, shape, or form. So, you know, been doing it a long time.
Definitely, man. I definitely appreciate you being on, brother. It's always fun having you on.
Yeah, man.
You're very
Anytime.
knowledgeable about each subject, not just ghost hunting. Like you said, you know a lot about Mothman, Bigfoot,
Oh yeah.
just every cryptid, really.
Yeah, I mean, I have books on everything. I write about everything. I've done a lot of put a lot of time in my life into this stuff. Even when I was working, I was still investigating cases. And I'm not one of those guys that just goes to one of the commercial, asylums or jails. I investigate people's homes, their place of business because they need help. And I've been doing that a long time. And that's what I mostly do nowadays. I get called to go help people because they're experiencing something they don't understand, and we're trying to help them figure it out and get rid of it if it's negative, and just helping folks because they need it sometimes, especially in the spiritual world. Because these negative spirits can affect you mentally, spiritually, financially, all kinds of different ways. I experienced that firsthand. So, if you want to read about that, definitely get one of the Wicked 46 books.
Definitely, man. I want to thank Dave Spinks for being on. I want to thank you too for watching. I want to thank everybody for listening, subscribing, viewing. Everybody have a good day and God bless.